Welcome to Zebra Aurora Vision Studio. In the second part of this tutorial, we'll continue to explore the new WebHMI feature and finish building our simple inspection application with a web-based interface. While in the first part, we focused on the basics, like adding the WebHMI to our program, in this part, we'll jump straight to building the application as well as its web-based interface. If you are new to building user interfaces in Zebra Aurora Vision Studio, or for some reason you skipped the first part, we strongly recommend you go back and watch it, along with the standard HMI tutorial. These videos contain some crucial information that will help you along the way. We'll also learn how to connect to the WebHMI using a standard web browser, and last but not least, we'll discuss some additional settings related to this feature. So, without further ado, let's jump straight to the program editor and get to work. Alright, you probably noticed that I changed the template. We had a single image, but right now we have two. This is because I would like to have an original image here, and here an image with some data displayed. So I just swapped the template to this one. As for working with those elements, I think that apart from clicking, if something is like really visible, the easiest and most convenient method to access different elements in our HMI is this elements browser. You can just click whatever element is available here, and you can also see the entire structure of our interface presented in a pretty concise manner. So just to explain, we have the window, which is this whole container. Then we have border one, which contains our whole interface. And then we have the table panel, which is basically the panel inside this border, which allows us to divide the interface into rows and columns organized in this particular way. And then we have the picture borders and the small borders here with the text blocks and the header border with the title. Just for starters, let's change the title. We click this element, we see that there is an input in text. We could send a string from our program and have this title set inside our program, but we can also set it manually in the properties window. So here we have the text property. We just change it to, let's say, gasket inspection. And as you can see, there are quite a few properties like font family, font weight, height, and so on. And these are basically the same properties we use in the HTML hypertext language. So the typography, it's H4, and then we could choose font family. Let's say, for example, we have to type it manually, Verdana, okay, and it should change our font to Verdana. If not, it will use a default font, or we can select, for example, Arial, and it will change it to Arial. Okay, let's leave it like this. One more thing, I wanted to give you a piece of advice regarding the design process. I think it really helps if you think about creating the WebHMI as creating a website or web page. The whole process is very, very similar to creating a page in HTML when you have tables, you have different rows, columns, with the difference that you don't have to write the code yourself, but you have this graphical designer. And while in standard HMI, we had a lot more graphically oriented design process, we could move those elements freely. Here, we have to always think about this HTML-like structure. I think this kind of approach will help you in the process, especially if you are used to designing the HMI in the standard designer and now you want to switch to WebHMI. Okay, so the next step will be adding the images to our HMI. We will add them to these two picture boxes, the picture box 1 and picture box 2. And the way we add them is really simple. It's exactly the same as we did in a standard HMI. We can just connect the appropriate output with this in-source input. When we do so, we have a status here saying that this output, this data is being exported to WebHMI. We can do the same with the second picture box, and I would like to mention that we can do it the other way around. So we just take in source and connect it with the image output of read film strip. I personally like to do it this way, but if the other method works better for you, you can of course use it. We can iterate our program now and see what the interface looks like. It looks okay, but we have a slight problem, which is these images got distorted, but we can fix it really easily. We stop the program and look at these picture boxes properties, and as we can see, the height and width are both set to 256 pixels. So we just change this value. We delete it for now. Right now, if we run the interface, we can see that the image is using its original dimensions and everything else got scaled up. To fix this and to have the image presented in this border we have designed before, we will use the percentage value. And here we will just type in 100%, and this 100% is the 100% of this container, not of the image. So let's look what it looks like now. Yes, this is much better, and we will do the same for the second picture box. And let's check. Yeah, this is exactly what I want. The next thing we're going to do is to display some graphical data within this right image. And I will display these two circles and the connecting segment. I could display these arcs as well, but for the tutorial's sake, let's just use these two. The picture box controls, they accept an image on their input. So if we want to have the second image contains some sort of graphical data like the circles or the segments or whatever, we need to prepare this image in our program first. I've already made changes to our main program, and right now I'm just going to stop the program and minimize the WebHMI designer, and we'll jump to the program editor to see what filters I used for this task. So on the left hand side we have our standard preview window with the original image and all these data displayed graphically. And on the right hand side we have a single image with all the elements already in it. This image was created by these three filters, and first of all I've created a circle to the array from these two circles, and then passed it to the draw circles single color filter. If I wanted to have these circles displayed in different colors, I would have to use two filter blocks. And then we have draw segment single color with a single segment. This one in here, I changed some properties, namely the thickness, color, and apart from that I also activated the cross marker which displays the centers of these two circles. I guess all these changes are pretty basic and they don't require any further explanation. As a result, we just get an out image which now we can send to our web HMI. Alright, these two borders shrunk a little bit. This is because we changed the picture boxes width to 100% instead of 256 pixels. And before it receives an image, it doesn't have any width defined, so the whole thing changed its dimensions. We want to change the source for picture box number 2, so we just use the element list, and this is where it comes in handy. because it will be really hard to click it right now. So we just select picture box 2 and we connect in source to out image. Of course, Studio asks us if we want to reconnect this input because right now it has the original image. Yes, we do. And let's run the program to see the final effect. As we can see, we have everything displayed correctly. So we have 2 circles, we have the connecting segment and the points. Also, a very good thing is that if we resize this window, all the elements will also resize. So our web interface won't have any problem to work properly on both PC and some mobile devices. Now that we have the result image displayed correctly and everything is sorted out, we can proceed to edit the remaining part of our web interface. As we can see, the template offers us 2 borders with 2 text blocks inside. But these text blocks are also nested inside a stack panel. So my plan is to change the content of these borders. I would like to have some values displayed maybe here and add an interactive element on the right hand side, maybe a slider. And then the left side, the left border, I would like to reserve for some indicator lights, which will show me the status of the inspection. Let's stop the program now to enable editing of the WebHMI. And as we can see, the images disappeared, but now we have access to all these elements like the borders or the image or the text blocks. We also got access to our Elements browser, which is very important because we can see the whole structure of this HMI very clearly here. So maybe let's design the left side first. As we can see, we have 2 text blocks and we would like to have some indicator lights instead. Let's remove these elements. Now let's look at the structure. So we have the border and the stack panel. What we want to do is to have 3 stack panels inside this one, so that we can arrange our elements vertically and have headlines on the top and then the indicator lights here at the bottom. So let's add these 3 stack panels to stack panel 1 really quickly. We add content, we add the first one, we are still inside stack panel 1, we can see. So add content, we add the second one, and again click, add content, and we add the third one. As we can see, there is a slight problem because these stack panels are arranged vertically. So what we want to do is to change the orientation to horizontal, and now we can see that inside stack panel 1 there are 3 dots representing these 3 stack panels we have just added. So now we can start filling them in with content. We choose stack panel 3 and we can add different elements here, like a text block, which will be our headline, and we choose stack panel 3. This will be probably easier with the Elements browser, and we add a status indicator, and we repeat the same for stack panel 4 and 5. So let me just do it really quickly. So I think this looks pretty nice. The only thing I would maybe change would be the alignment of the text block and the indicator. So let's choose these stack panels and we change item alignment from stretch to center. And we do the same for the 2 other stack panels. We can of course change the text blocks. So let's say this will be circle 1. This will be circles 2, and this will be the distance. And now we will need to plug in some data to these indicator lights. They have the in status input, which accepts a Boolean value, so it's either true or false. So we will have to add some filters to our program that will provide us with these values. Okay, let's do it now. Let's close the WebHMI designer for now. And now we have the circle 1 radius and the circle radius 2. So we can see that circle 1, if we check a couple of examples, is 44, 45, 45. So it's definitely greater than 44. And if we check one of these NG samples, here we can see that the radius is 34. So we can even assume that greater than 40 or 44 is going to be okay. So let's stop our program. And now we have a test real filter, which is basically a filter that will return Boolean, so either true or false. We want the filter variant to be greater or equal, and in value will be circle radius 1, and the reference value is 44. Okay. We'll do the same for the circle radius 2, so let's check what sort of values we have here. So we have 26, 26, this one is NG, so it's 17, 26, this one is 26, this one is 23. So we can say that if it's greater than 25, then the inspection will indicate that it's correct. So let's stop the program and add another test real filter. We can just copy, paste it, and the reference value will be 24. Okay, so 24 and circle radius 2 will be our in value. And last but not least, we have this distance. Of course, in the original inspection we had two distances as distance A. So let's see what the distance is 301, 300, 301. Here it's 311. So it's too big. That indicates that something is wrong. And here we have 301, 300, sorry, but the circle is wrong, so something else will indicate that there is a problem. Here 305, so it should be smaller than 303, let's say. So let's just add another filter to do the inspection. We of course choose other variant. So here is 303, and this is distance A. So we connect our output with the input, and we can check if these values are correct for some images. So let's say this is okay image, everything is true, true, true. Here we have a problem with the second circle, so false, false, and with the distance. Here we had a problem with the top circle, but not with the distance. So yes, this works correctly. And let's open our WebHMI designer, undock it, and now we can connect these indicator lights to our outputs. So this one goes here, this one goes here, and this one will connect to the last filter. Okay, so let's just give it a go and test a couple of images. Everything looks okay. We have the indicator lights. So here we have problem of distance with the second circle. Yeah, as we can see, everything is working correctly. Okay, I've cleaned the interface a little bit, and I've already prepared this right hand side because the process is identical to what we did here. So I can just show you the changes really quickly. You can see that these elements are centered, and we have a slider here. Let's stop the program so we can analyze the structure. So on the left hand side in our first stack panel, I've changed the item alignment, the justification, and also I added some spacing just to keep those elements apart. And on the right hand side we have border RD, and there's stack panel RD. You probably remember we had two text blocks, so I removed them and added two stack panels, and then we have two text blocks and one text block and one slider, which are basically these elements. I've also changed the alignment and justification for the parent stack panel, added some spacing, and for these stack panels I've just changed the item alignment. So now we can connect the value, the distance value, to our text block, and probably, as you remember, we were measuring distance A. So I'll just take in text and connect it to distance A. Right now the text I had here disappeared because we will be sending the value from our program, and let's check if it works properly. As we can see, yes, the distance is displayed properly, and here we will add some basic filters just to have the tolerance. Right now we are using the test real filter to check if the distance A is correct. We've assumed the reference value of 303, which means that this distance is still okay, and as you can see, for these samples the distance is true, so the indicator light will be green, but for this one it's set on false, so the indicator light will be red. What we are going to do is we will bring out this input in reference value. Okay, stop program, because we will be passing this value from another filter. Next we'll add the add reals filter, which is a simple filter block that takes a number of elements, number of real values, and just returns their sum. And the first value we'll set to 303. This was our reference value, our threshold for the correct distance. And the second one will be the value from the slider on the WebHMI. So let's bring out the HMI designer. I will not be undocking it, and we have out value here, so I'll just link it to in B. I've set the maximum value of the slider to 20. The step is 1, but you can change these values freely. Okay, so right now we have the sum, and we'll link it to the reference value. And we can check if it's working properly. I'll undock the WebHMI. And let's move this a little bit. And let's bring out the sum. So right now, our threshold is set to 0. So the distance, the tolerance is set to 0. But if we set it to like, I don't know, 15 or 16, it's 14 actually. So it's 317. So we can see that here, the distance which was previously set to false, it's right now considered to be true. So this basically concludes our process of building our web interface in this tutorial. The only one thing I want to mention is that when you change this tolerance, the change will take effect upon the next iteration. So here, if I change it here, then I would have to iterate the program. This is something that can be solved using the WebHMI events. Then we can have those changes made in real time, but it is also something for another tutorial. The last two things I would like to talk about are how to connect to our WebHMI using a web browser and some basic settings. I will start from the settings first. The WebHMI related settings are located in Tools, Settings, and then in Program Edition section. If you scroll down, you see that we have the runtime server port and the design server port here. The runtime server port is grayed out because our program is running right now. So let's cancel, let's stop the program and go back. As you can see right now, you can change these ports freely. This first port is exactly the port we'll be connecting to when using the web browser to connect that to our WebHMI. And the design server port is a port you can connect to using your web browser, and then you will get a simple design interface you can use to change the WebHMI from the level of the browser. This design server port is active when you're running the program within Zebra Aurora Vision Studio. We won't be changing anything here. We will leave those values as default. Let's close our settings. And now let's move on and see how we can connect to the web interface while the program is running. So I've started the web browser. It doesn't really matter which one you're using. And right now we can just try to access the WebHMI through the port we set in the settings. As we can see, the program is running. It's doing the inspection, everything is displaying properly. We can of course change the tolerance. Right now the distance should be okay for all the samples. It is. And if we change it back to something smaller, then we should get an NG sample. So this is what the program looks like while running in background in Zebra Aurora Vision Studio. I've also added a delay filter just to have a slight delay between images, and I've checked the load offline data in a loop option here in the film strip just to get the looped playback. That will be all for this tutorial, and I really hope that after watching it you got a good understanding of what the WebHMI really is, what are its capabilities, and that you've learned how to build a simple web interface yourself. As always, I strongly encourage you to visit our website, read our technical documentation available online, and I'll see you next time. This concludes our tutorial. If you want to learn more, please take a look at our technical documentation available at Zebra Aurora Vision Developer Portal. You can find links to the sections of the documentation relevant to this tutorial in the video description below. Thank you for watching. For more information on Zebra Aurora Vision software products, visit us at aurora-vision.zebra.com.